Hey there, it's Mackenzie, your host of Winning. We're looking for sponsors for the podcast. If you have a business that you would like to promote to thousands of people, send us an email at podcastwinning@gmail.com or send us a message on social media. I cannot wait to hear from you. Now on to the show.
Winning is your guide to making it in business. Join our award-winning host and entrepreneur, Mackenzie Kilshaw, and special guests in casual conversations that will educate and inspire you on your business journey. Winning will help you learn the hard lessons the easy way with guidance from celebrated entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's fun. It's informative. It's winning.
Hello, welcome to Winning. I am your host, Mackenzie Kilshaw, and today's guest is Nikki Sanderson. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me. My very first podcast.
Oh, I love it. I love hearing that. You're going to be such a great guest. If you don't know Nikki, she is a dynamic and accomplished hairstylist whose journey began in 2014. She started as an assistant. She moved to a full-time stylist. And she was making over $100,000 a year, which is amazing. And her success led her to actually purchase the salon. So she became the owner of Capelli Salon Studio in Saskatoon in 2020. We're really going to talk a lot about her transition from being an employee at a business into being the owner. Also, something extremely cool. She expanded the business just 8 months into her ownership and doubled the size of the salon. So we're going to talk about that too. But thank you so much, Nikki, for being here. And why don't you just give the audience a little bit of an idea of more of who you are?
Okay, well, yes, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So yes, my name's Nikki. I became Nikki when I started at the salon. I was known as Nicole, but when I started there was 3 Nicoles that worked there. So we all had to get these nicknames. So that's kind of how Nikki came to be. My family always called me that growing up, but pretty much I was always Nicole. So my high school girlfriends are still a little bit weirded out when they hear Nikki, because that's just how everybody knows me now. That's basically my name. But yeah, so I'm Nikki. I'm 31 years old. I grew up in Medicine Hat in Alberta. It's a small town, well, not a town, it's more of a city of about 60,000 people. That's where I graduated high school. As soon as I graduated high school, I moved away. I could not wait to get out. I moved to London, Ontario for just about a year. My sister lives out there, so I tried that out for a bit. And then I decided to come back. I just missed my friends and my family. And I moved to Calgary. And I lived there for about 3 years. And I was just kind of figuring out my life at that point. I was young 20s, very young 20s. I always had a passion for science, like biology and chemistry, but even though I failed it in high school, I really liked it. So I did go to the U of C for 1 semester. I took, sciences. I potentially had a dream of becoming a microbiologist or, something like that, marine biologist. But I really quickly learned that that's not at all how I excel in learning. I was failing pretty quickly within that first semester. I had always loved doing hair when I was younger. I had more of an unhealthy passion with my hair. I was coloring it like every day, and I would have mental breakdowns in my bathroom when I was a teenager if it didn't work out good. But nonetheless, I was always braiding, my friend's hair, my mom's hair, coloring their hair, whatever it was. So I knew that I always had that underlying passion for hair. And the reason that I didn't pursue it when I came out of high school is just being in a smaller city. There's kind of always that mentality or stereotype that hairstylists don't make a lot of money. They don't like their job. They're just doing it. They're not really passionate about it. And that I knew, like, no matter what I did in life, that I didn't want that to be me. I mean, it's not bad to say, but I knew I wanted to make money and be successful and be independent on my own. I knew I didn't want to go to a job every day that I hated. Just kind of all those things. But I didn't think that you could really do that with hair unless you moved away to like New York and became some celebrity stylist, or, moved to Toronto and worked downtown Toronto or something. I didn't think that you really, made any money. And this is like 15 years ago as well, too. So I think now with the rise of Instagram, that's obviously, the narrative has become quite different regarding hair. Like, it's an awesome career. So anyways, so I dropped out of university in my first semester. I think it was like December. And I remember telling my dad, like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm going to hair school. And he's like, oh, that's great. Like, I think that you'll be really great at that. And he just automatically kind of knew that it would be a good path for me. So I decided to work for a little bit more in Calgary just to save up some money and do a little bit of traveling before I committed to going to hair school. And at the time, my sister and my mom had kind of relocated out to Saskatoon since I was living in Calgary. And so I decided to come to Saskatoon to go to hair school because I knew I wouldn't be able to really work at all because it was a full-time kind of, school schedule. Um, so I drove out to Saskatoon and I couldn't believe I was now living in Saskatchewan. I just was like, I'm going to get out of here as soon as I can. Like, I'll move back to Calgary as soon as I can because I cannot live in Saskatchewan. It was terrible. And then, yeah, I went to hair school and I absolutely loved hair school. Like looking back on it, I would never want to be in hair school again, but I just remember I went into it just bright eyed and I couldn't wait for my career to happen. And so, yeah, I really liked hair school. And then they told me about a salon owner named Alicia in the city, and she owned a salon called Capelli. I had never even heard of it. I was almost done school pretty much, but I had never even heard of Capelli until they mentioned her and that she had done New York Fashion Week. And from that moment, I was like, I have to work for this woman. Like, I need to meet her. I need to go to her salon. And yeah, I reached out and she was just about to have her second baby. And so, I don't even know if she was really hiring or what the kind of deal was, but yeah, I basically kind of harassed her until she gave me a job there. And then, even at that moment, I was like, I'll work here for a year. I'll become an assistant. I'll get that, maybe get my journeyman here or whatever. And then I'll go back to Calgary to be a successful stylist there. But, as I got into it at Capelli, I just realized like, this is for me. Like, Alicia was a great mentor and yeah, I fit in right away and I just found my groove there. And yeah, I trained up in 2015, June to December. And on my first year, in my first year on the floor in 2016, I brought in over 100,000 in revenue, which to me, I didn't know, I was just working hard and I loved it. I didn't know that was quite unheard of.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just went up from there. So yeah, I mean, I've been able to be quite successful as a stylist pretty quick. And I don't know, I think that's just that happens when you're really passionate about it and you want to have success for yourself. So yeah, and then I bought it in 2020 as our owner moved on to her tech company. She started an app for the hair salon community and she had to go pretty hard into that. And that kind of opportunity came up for me and I had never even wanted to be a salon owner. I thought it would be, like obviously Alicia had a great salon, but just seeing some of the struggles that she went through, I just was like, no, I can't imagine going through that. It's so great to wake up every day and only have to worry about yourself. And, you come and you do clients, you go to bed, you don't have to worry about anything. And that's what I thought I wanted. But then the sale of the salon came up and, she had kind of mentioned it and told me about it. And if it wasn't me that bought it, it was going to be some random person. And I just don't think I could work for anybody but Alicia,
Yeah.
So yeah, I took over and away I went. And yeah, 2 months after I bought it, 6 weeks or something, we closed down because of COVID. So that was a huge struggle, but, lots of learning happened in that time as well. And then we reopened and probably 4 months after that or 5 months, I expanded because the restrictions were just too limiting for us. And obviously they went on for two and a half years or something. And so we just had no opportunity for growth had we stayed in that smaller space and stuff. So yeah, and now I'm here. So almost 4 years later, I guess. Yeah, 4 years. Time flies.
It does. And honestly, I want to backtrack a little bit because first off, when you said you went to university and then you kind of failed at that, like in reality failed if you weren't doing good in your classes, but always had that passion for hair, right? So following what you love doing, I mean, look at the path you're on now.
Totally.
Yeah. And also I hear it all the time, just a hairstylist, right? For many of the trades, oh, I'm just a hairstylist. People will say that about themselves even, or, oh, he's just a plumber or just an electrician or what have you. And the trades, I mean, your very first year as a full-time stylist making over $100,000, that is amazing. And I know it's grown from there with the growth of taking over ownership, expanding and everything else. But it just shows you that there is no limit, right? When you love doing something and you're passionate about it, there's no limit of what your income can be.
Absolutely. And that, you can become anything. Like, I don't, you can be anything and, start your own business at it. And as long as you have a passion for it, or even just an understanding of business, you just want to see your business succeed, then you can honestly do anything. And the thing I love about hairstylists is, sure, there are just hairstylists, like in any, industry. There are people who just do that and they might not be as passionate about it. It's just a job. That's totally fine. But if you move into that next level of, it's your career, it's your passion, you're growing, all that stuff, there honestly is no limit to hairstylists. I have heard of some hairstylists in LA making $1 million a year, right? Their haircuts are $2,500. Like, and the thing with hair that I love so much about it is that you can go from 0 to 100 so quickly. There's no rules or limits as to how much you can make in every year. And yeah, at the end of the day, I get that we provide services, but we're artists. And when you're an artist, you don't have to cap out at anything. Like, painters, charge $20,000 for a painting. Like, if somebody's going to pay it, then you can make it. So, I mean, obviously, as long as the quality is there and everything, but that's one thing that I love about this industry as compared to other trades. Like a plumber, you can't, come charge $50,000 to change a toilet out. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but with hair,
you can't. No, my husband's a plumber.
Exactly.
You can't.
Exactly. Or else we'd be doing it. But yeah, with hair, I mean, honestly, like if you've got that passion, you built that clientele, you have that brand behind you, then the sky's the limit. So it's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to go a lot through your story about going from being an employee to the owner, but I also want to go back to one thing, COVID. And I know, so my store, I had a physical clothing store, was just down I'm 4 doors down or something.
Yes.
Yeah, from Nikki. So, I mean, we saw each other all the time. Of course, I got my hair done there and you guys shopped with me and whatnot. But before we get really into your story, I want to talk a little bit about something you said about COVID, where you had to expand because of the restrictions. And it's almost like the opposite of what people think, because most people downsized during COVID, right? Got rid of their office space or whatnot to save. But you guys actually, by expanding, that's what kept you going and really now has given you even more success. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when I bought the salon, it obviously was one bay. We had 10 stations, but we had 9 operating chairs because one just wasn't really in a good spot. And then the restrictions happened. Our chairs were just a little bit too close together, so we could only have every other one operating. And I think at the time we maybe had 8 stylists or 8 or 9, or not even probably. That was 4 or 5 chairs that we could only use now. So, from 9 till 3, one person stylist came in to use that chair. And then from 3 to 9, the next one came in. So it was almost just like shift work. You had to be really tight on your schedule. And I mean, we could have just stayed that way as well. But I just think about, if I was a stylist and I didn't own the salon at that point, I would not want to work that way for 3 years, 2 years, just not even having the ability to be able to stay late for a client because somebody was in that chair. And, it was really packed in there as well. Also, another reason that I decided to expand was the bay next to us had been vacant for probably about a year. And at that point, I kind of, when it did become vacant, our old owner, before she sold it and had the idea to sell it, she wanted to expand and hopefully take that, but then she decided to sell. And then when I took it over, I was like, oh, maybe one day it'll still be open and, I can have the opportunity to expand. But obviously, I'm just buying the salon right now. So it's not a good idea to do it right now. And and then we closed. And when we reopened, obviously we were only open for 6 weeks. I only had 6 weeks of money as a new business in the bank account. And then we closed for 2 months. And we had no money. And then to reopen under those restrictions, I just knew that if that space ever got leased, which it honestly probably could have, because I feel like post-COVID, there was a lot of new businesses popping up almost. People were inspired to start these new businesses. And I actually think that somebody was looking at the space, but I ended up getting it just because we were already the tenants there. But yeah, had that space been taken, we would have had to move locations completely. I probably wouldn't have even bothered expanding right away. Probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have even expanded at all. So yeah, I just saw the opportunity, and you make a little plan, you run the numbers, and if you just have to hire more people. And I just figured that would be the least of my problems, is just
Yeah.
finding people. So yeah, we did it and haven't looked back since. It's not like it's been easy all the time, but it's definitely something I don't regret at all. It just pushed us into that next level.
Yeah, that's awesome. And really, you
Yeah.
took a really bad situation, which was our people can only work half time. Really, they were working
Yeah.
part-time hours, and you
Yeah.
took that into doubling the amount of staff you had,
Totally.
which is
Yeah.
crazy, unheard of.
Yeah, and I
Really.
mean, when those stylists are off for 2 months too, and now they've come back and now they're so limited in their schedule, like that's not fun either. So
Yeah.
I had this fear, I guess you could call it, that the people that I had with me, which were awesome people, that eventually after so long they would just go find a new job because they don't want to work like that, and I wouldn't have wanted to either. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. The risk is risk. It's all the same. I'm kind of learning. So, I don't know. It was a good choice for sure. And we ended up doubling the space, the chairs, the revenue. Like honestly, we doubled the revenue. So it
Yeah.
worked, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and your expenses probably didn't double, right? Like
Right. Yeah, exactly.
increased, but not doubled.
Yeah, exactly. The rent obviously doubled, but
Yeah.
that's kind of a fixed cost and doesn't really change. So, I mean, the power, I don't even know what the power bill is a month. Maybe that's a bad thing, but it gets paid. So I don't know, but yeah, it was the move for sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back a little bit. Risk. So the former owner is like, hey, Nikki, I'm thinking about I got to sell my salon. Are you interested? Are you like, absolutely no? Or are you like, yeah, I mean, you're not risk adverse. Clearly you expanded during a pandemic. So were you just like, yeah, I'm buying this. This is it. Or did you have to think about it for a long time? How did that go?
Well, yeah, it's not like one day she just came to me and asked me the question flat out, right? I feel like her and I have always been really close. She's always shared business ideas with me. Like I feel like I always kind of knew what was happening at the salon, and we would have these long talks all the time. And I just feel like for 5 years, she really got me to this point to where it wasn't so scary anymore. So, as she's moving along with her other business and, the topics of who's going to buy it and all that stuff and how she's going to move along and all that stuff. So obviously I just kind of became the next in line. And I think at first I definitely wanted to keep her on almost as like a co-owner for, 1 to 2 years. And that was our original plan, was to do that. Cause I just like the thought of, the bank account being in my name, like paying PST. I was like, where do you even go to pay PST? I don't even know what that is. Like, how do who do I call to file taxes? Like, I just had no idea. So yeah, she was going to come on as a co-owner. And I think it was September of 2019, we went on this retreat together, and that's where we decided I would buy the salon and that she would be co-owner though. December of 2019, we were signing loans to get funding. And at that point, I was just like, no, you know what? I can do this. I don't think that at the end of the day, I have her no matter what. She's always a phone call, a text, a meetup away.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like that would even serve any of us any purpose. Yeah. And then by February 1st, I owned the salon right out. So yeah, there was that period that I thought that I would need somebody to help me, and I do have her to help me, but yeah, you don't need that. So unless you know nothing about the business, you need somebody to like guide you through like the process. But like I had said, I feel like for 5 years, she kind of got me to that point. So it was good.
Yeah, that's good. So you were prepared. And
Yes, I think so.
probably we're going to get into this about transitioning, but did you think you were prepared and you weren't really prepared, or were you prepared? Because I feel I feel like I was like, I know everything that's happening. And then you start and you're like, holy crap, I don't know anything that's happening.
Right. I'm almost like the opposite. I feel like in your own head, you think so, not negatively, but how could I do this? Like, I don't know anything. Like, I've never paid PST, like how do you make sure that, you know, you're good on payroll, like all that
Yeah.
stuff. And then you just do it and you're like, okay, like it's not that bad. I think you just think that this mountain of things that you have to do, yes, it's very intimidating, but you just kind of do it. It's like anything in life, right? But um yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was
So,
yeah.
yeah, transitioning. So you went from being a full-time stylist, and I know you were one of the busiest probably stylist in the
Mhm.
salon. So you go from literally seeing clients all day long to now you not only have to see clients, but you also have to run the business, right?
Mhm.
So you now are responsible. Once you sign that paper and you're the owner, like you just said, you're responsible for paying the taxes and paying
Mhm.
your staff. And I know in the hair industry, ordering product, right? Like you have to get the color in, you have to get the retail products in somehow. You have to make sure that your team is all a community and they're all getting the education they need and whatnot. So, how do you make that transition from being a full time stylist to now being a stylist and the owner? A huge thank you to our sponsor, Just For You Day Spa and Wellness. Just For You is Canada's premier day spa with 5 locations in Alberta and Saskatchewan. The award-winning luxury spa features Leah Reese cosmetics and iconic Betty jewelry that you can also purchase online. Visit www.justforyoudayspa.com to book your service or to purchase a gift card.
Yeah, it was honestly, that's been one of the hardest parts, like even still to this day. Because like I said, I loved being a stylist, like knowing that you go to work, you wake up, you go to work, you do hair. And not to make that sound monotonous, but that you just know what your goals are for the day and you leave feeling good. I did this for people. I made them feel great. You don't take anything home with you really, unless you had a terrible day at work, which is few and far between. But yeah, it just was easy. You know, nobody's calling you for this and that and
Yeah,
whatnot. If something goes wrong, like it doesn't matter for you, right? So that was always the best part about doing hair. If you wanted to make more money, you just go in and you do that. You can just take time away. Like no one's gonna need you essentially, right? Like if you're stylist, like you can just take off
you take
whenever,
vacation.
go for 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not a big deal, right? So that was always the best part for sure. And then I moved into being an owner, and now my day is taking care of all these people, which I do honestly love so much. But yeah, it's not no longer just about me. I'm responsible now for everybody else's career, which is like a blessing for sure because I'm I'm somebody who needs to be motivated and I thrive on that and you know getting to the next step and all that stuff. So the the pressure almost of having all these people's career in my hands is kind of what keeps me going almost.
yeah,
But yeah, my brain almost, the thing I've had the toughest time with is just as the owner, you know, you're not behind the chair anymore. So now you have to come up with things to do in the day. And not that there aren't enough things, but, you know, what am I going to work on now? What needs my attention now? And I have a very hard time like focusing on that because I'm constantly getting distracted. It would, you know, at home or at the salon, it's all the same.
yeah.
But the thing that I love most about being behind the chair is just like you're just doing hair. You're washing hair, you're blow drying hair. Now you're coloring it. You know, if you made a mistake, you fixed it, whatever, but your task is right in front of your face. And that's what I loved. And I have definitely had a challenge of, you know, coming in and prioritizing what needs to be done. And then, you know, if I didn't do 10 things today, then I walk away feeling like a failure. Like, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
didn't do anything today. So when in reality, that's not the case. But yeah, sometimes I do have, you know, struggles now with um, you know, if I have to make content or yeah, make a newsletter or something like that, it's I feel like I'm taking forever to do it. So,
Yeah.
but I'm getting better.
Yeah. So really your day-to-day tasks and life have changed a lot because it's
Yeah,
not you standing with your client anymore and doing their hair. It is now doing a whole bunch of other things.
right, exactly. And I definitely have more flexibility in my day now for sure. Like I don't have to be, I always do try and be present in the salon. I think that's a big thing that helps with the culture and just
Yeah.
helps people feel like I'm there for them is, you know, I try to be there Tuesday, like I'm not behind the chair, so I'll be there Tuesday mornings, you know, 9 till two or three, but then I have the option to kind of, if I have an appointment or something, I can leave. Wednesdays has always kind of been my really long day behind the chair. I'm there for anywhere from 12 to 13 hours. And that day is kind of just like, I'm a stylist right now, but then when something goes wrong it's usually on a Wednesday,
Yeah.
the dishwasher breaks or something goes wrong, and then it's chaotic. And then, yeah, Thursdays, I usually just up recently, I've been working from home a little bit, and Fridays I'm back in the salon, just, being there and helping people out. And some Saturdays I go in, and some Saturdays I'm behind the chair, not too much anymore. But yeah, I kind of keep that day for myself and Sundays for myself. And then Monday I'm, doing not podcasts, but this type of thing, like,
Yep.
maybe meetings or appointments and stuff like that. So I definitely have more flexibility in my schedule now, but everything is my responsibility now, right? So even if I
Yes.
come home, I'm still working sometimes, which, it is totally fine, but it's not like I'm just, taken off for the week or anything like that. But
Yeah, exactly. I like how you said that Saturday and Sunday is your time, because
for sure.
especially when you're new. I mean, you're now a few years doing this. But I think a lot of times what happens is we're like, oh, I'm the owner now. I have to be there, or I have to be
Mm-hmm.
working. And we forget about ourselves, literally ourselves, our physical health, mental health, relaxation, spending time with your family and friends and all those things, because you're so focused on the business. And it is so important to really schedule yourself that time, right? So you can
Yeah.
recharge and rest and relax and everything else.
Yeah. And I think that's no matter what industry you're in, I think it's super important to have that time. I'm never not answering my phone if something's like falling apart at the salon. I'm never going to be like, oh no, it's my time. Like,
Yeah.
figure it out yourself. But I think it's very important that everybody, business owner, stylists, or wherever you work, that you do have those days. My thing has always been, and my expectations of, employees is like, when you're scheduled to work, you work hard. Like, I want your 110%. And then when you're off, like, don't worry about it. Like, you take your
Yeah.
time off, you take vacations, it's never going to be a problem. But yeah, as long as you're, giving it your all and putting that hard work in during your working hours, if you want to come in on your day off and do content, totally, like, that's your choice to do that. But yeah, I'm never going to force somebody, even with like clients, like, even if it was, a correction or something, like, I hope that you get them in during your working hours. And on the very rare chance that you have to do it outside of your hours, I guess that's just part of the industry. But I would never say to somebody, yeah, you're going to have to stay, on a Sunday and do
Yeah.
this. Like, that's your time. So yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good outlook, because you're showing your team how important it is to take care of themselves. And
For sure. And yeah, as the owner too, I feel like, maybe it's different in another industry, but if the salon falls apart, if I'm not there for a Saturday, or if I take a week of vacation and the salon is falling apart, like, obviously I didn't hire the right people. I'm not doing my job properly, right? Like, I shouldn't, I want to be there, and I am there, but if I'm not for some reason, and things blow up, like, what does that say about the business? It doesn't function that well by itself, right? So that's
yeah.
kind of the balance that I want to have, is that I will be there. I am always available in there, but if I'm not for some reason, if something comes up, then everybody's good. It's got a good system in place. So yeah.
Yeah. That's a great point, because most people look at success as financial. Like, oh, we make money. We make good money. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
But having the right people and the right procedures in place, you shouldn't have to be at your business all day, every day. You shouldn't have to do that, because
Yeah.
your business should be able to run without you there. That, to me, is the real sign of success.
Totally. And especially now that I'm not just doing hair, obviously
Yeah.
I would be there if I was doing clients all day, but now I'm, answering emails, editing content, making content, like, doing all these things that don't necessarily require me to be at the salon. And sometimes it's, you know, our salon has 15 chairs now, probably like 14 staff members. And, we got this big table at the front. And if I sit there and work, I absolutely love it, because I can be present in the salon. But then, the stylists are coming up to talk to me, which is fine. My clients or other clients walk in, they want to chat, like, distributors are coming in to chat, like, the phone rings, all that stuff. So it is quite distracting, but I do still want to be there. But sometimes I just have to work from home to have that quiet time. And yeah, I think that that's not a bad thing.
No, I agree. I always think it's funny too. And you probably feel the same, but when you said that, it's kind of distracting. I used to do that too. Sometimes I'd be like, oh, I'll just go to my store and work for a few hours. And all that ended up happening was my staff asked me questions. And I'm like, if I wasn't here, would you have texted me that? Or would you have just, they're like, I probably would have just done it. I'm like, yeah, like you don't need to ask me then. Just do what you think you should do. And it is good to network with your client, even if they're not your client, like they're coming to your business. But you're right. There is also that point where you don't get anything productive done because you're just spending time visiting and answering
talking
questions,
and chatting and answering the phone, and all that stuff, hanging coats up, like, which, sounds like, but I want to be there. If somebody walks in and somebody's not at the front, then you got to, greet them, hang their coat up, which, is obviously expected. But then anything I'm working on, like I said, my brain gets very distracted, and then 30 minutes go by and I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to be working on that thing. So, and then it's 3:00 and then I'm going home. So
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. Hours fly when you're in your business. Like you don't realize like, oh, it's only lunchtime and all of a sudden it's 4 and you're like, how did that happen?
Yeah. And I accomplished nothing.
Yeah, exactly. What has been the most challenging thing for you with this change?
I would probably say just challenging. Yeah. Like being now responsible for everybody. You got to check in on everybody and make sure, everyone's growing and loving their work, which at the end of the day, if you don't, then do something about it. But, it's not like I'm babysitting or anything, but I think sometimes because I was kind of always somebody who never needed that. Like, I'm just like, I had Alicia, obviously, that inspired me and all that, but I never needed like, oh, I'm feeling something today. Like I need like motivation. And, I kind of made it for myself and I knew what I wanted and nothing was really going to stop me. So sometimes it is, a little hard sometimes when you have to do that for people. But that's just part of being the owner. And I wouldn't change it for anything. But I would just kind of say that is dealing with people's, not everybody's personality, but just a certain type for sure. And trying to make sure that everybody's always feeling good. And because sometimes, you're not feeling good. And I don't know.
It's true. And you're taking on everyone else's stress kind of as your own, right? Like to make sure that everybody's happy, everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. How can you improve things? There's a problem. What do you do? That even if you don't think about it, you're taking on that load yourself now, right? Where before that wasn't your problem.
Yeah, exactly. I would just maybe hear about it through, you know what I mean? I didn't even have to ever deal with it, but and just, the hardest part, just, I don't know. There's just, some months are so great and overall it's been great. Some months are very hard. And, when you're feeling down, the team feel like they feed off that energy as well. So it's very hard sometimes to make sure that I'm keeping myself motivated when I come in. I can't be moping around and I don't, but imagine if your owner just did that and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's not the energy I wanted today. So, above everything that you go through as an owner, you always have to remember that there's, 10, 15 other people looking at you, who will immediately like change their behavior based off how you're acting. So sometimes that's hard too, for sure, to make sure that you're putting everybody else before you.
Yeah, you're really under the microscope for sure when you're the owner because how you handle situations, your attitude, all of that, people are looking for you. Like you said, Alicia was your mentor. You are the mentor now to many of the stylists there. So they're looking at you, right? So you have to bring that positive energy and problem solve and all of that every day.
Exactly. Really. Yeah. Be the cheerleader for everybody. And I mean, I honestly, I do love it. I love my job so much and this position that I've changed into. But I think that would be the hardest part, is just dealing with so many personalities and, so many people want different things and have different work ethics, not to like a bad standard, but it's just, what you see in one person, you wish you could duplicate it across the board almost. And, if it doesn't happen that way, then you're kind of like, oh, okay.
No, for sure. What has been the best part about going from an employee to the owner?
Ooh, that's a good one. The best part. I would, maybe this sounds like a little selfish or not even selfish, but just looking at everything and being like, wow, like I didn't obviously create that by myself. Like I've got a whole team of people that have equally played an important role. But when you look back on it, you're like, wow, I did that. Like I think that that's just such a cool thing. And then, this person's successful or going on this class or, their dreams are coming true because of a part that I played. And, I think that that's like really cool and a huge motive, yeah, factor in my motivation that keeps me going is seeing that for sure. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome. Being the owner is honestly awesome. Like I said, like more of a flexible schedule to an extent for sure. But it's more pressure having everything on me, but it is cool just to look at how it all comes together and to be like, I did that like that, was me. So
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of people that help out, but
No, it's something definitely to be proud of. And I can tell you from someone that's started a business, ran business, sold a business, moved on, the relationships that you have with your team, those
Mhm.
relationships are lifelong. Like I still
Yeah.
have people that work for me now. I opened my business 10 years ago already. I have people
Wow.
that worked for me 10 years ago. I have one staff member. I'm not old enough to be her mom, but I kind of always feel like her mom a little bit because she was like 18 when she started for me. Now she called the other day. Hey, would you be a reference for like you still have those bonds with people and
Yeah.
seeing what an amazing woman she's become. Like that brings me so much joy. And it really has nothing to do with my business.
Yeah.
It's just those connections with your team. They're
Yeah.
life changing for sure.
Yeah. And your team honestly is it's the biggest thing in a business for sure, because yeah, without clients, you wouldn't have any revenue, you wouldn't have a
Yeah.
business. But it does start with your team. Like imagine calling into a business and their customer service department is atrocious. Like you would never shop there, right? So
Yep.
I think it really boils down to who you keep on your team. And that's one of my biggest things is who we hire, who we have to let go if it's not working.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm a huge supporter of my team because I honestly think without them, who they were, we would not be where we are today. So I will always, stick up for them, you know, obviously within reason, but yeah,
Yep.
they're the person that I fight for and stick up for. And, we have policies in place and, we've changed up how we charge for things and all that just so it supports them and betters them for sure. Because, I don't want them to ever feel like, I'm just only there for the money and I don't care about them, because it's almost the opposite. Like I care so much about them and their success because that's what I had. And you would never want to feel like your boss or whatever is against you, right? Like
Yeah.
you're walking on eggshells if you have a customer complaint or this customer said this or that or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be on their side, but also on the customer side too, if that makes sense. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. I think
yeah,
too, having the team that you have also comes back to you because
yeah,
that's who you hire and that's who you train and that's who you mentor, right? So a
yeah,
lot of that is you, which
yeah.
you should be really proud of.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, yeah, it's just who you surround yourself with. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
work with people I don't like either. Yes, there's different personalities you have to deal with in a day, but I want to work with people I like, and I'm sure that they feel the same. And,
Yeah.
they want to work with people that they like. So it's kind of like, if we hire somebody new, it's a mutual decision among the team. Like, do we like this person? Does everybody get along with them and see them doing well here? And if a couple people are like, no, not really, then okay, that's not a problem. I don't not trust their judgment. Because
Yeah.
yeah, if you have a good team, you want to make sure that those people end up liking coming to work and all that stuff. So
For
I
sure.
think it's important to, yeah, as an owner, support your team the best that you can, because that'll end up coming back into your business and you'll end up having clients that love your staff and love your business. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the best philosophy to have, right? Because at the
mhm.
end of the day, your staff is happier, you're happier, your business is better. It's a
Yeah,
win-win across the board, right?
definitely. Yeah. And happier staff that feels respected and valued and like they're, have the potential to earn like a great wage equals happy customers, because
Yeah.
that's the energy that they're seeing as well, right? So if everybody was miserable and hated their life, then the client would be like, I don't want to be there. So then
Yeah.
you would just be, yeah, instantly fall apart. So
Yeah, I love that. Do you have a
Yeah.
most important lesson that you've learned from going from an employee to the owner?
Yes. Um, that's a good one too. I don't know how to put it into like an eloquent phrase, I guess, but um, I would probably say the only person holding you back is you, I guess. If
Yep.
you're probably wondering why things aren't happening for you, I would take a good look in the mirror. Because I truly believe, that good things come to people who work hard for them, and have a great attitude and outlook on life. And, they're able to be flexible and adapt to change and all that stuff. I've worked with people who definitely no longer work there, but you'd ask them one little thing and it would be a fight, those type of people. But then they're wondering why, why this, why that, why am I not busy? This, and I just think it's such a full circle thing. Like my thing that I always tell people too is if you go into any situation and any job, whether you honestly like it or not, if you don't like it, then leave. That's your choice, right? But if
Yep.
you go into any situation and you're just like, what can this do for me? What can this person do for me? I'm only here to, you know, take what they can give me. It's not going to be a very long relationship, I feel like. But if you go into every relationship, work, whatever, saying, how can I add value to this day? What can I do that's going to make this person's day better, easier, whatever? That honestly is how I always went into work. Um, just how can I make the day better? All that stuff when I was a stylist. And it got me to this point. And, if I didn't like the salon, then I would have left. But I love the salon, and I feel like that's because of my outlook on it. So
Yep, for
yeah,
sure.
I would say like probably the only person holding you back is you. And, everybody wants, and even if you don't want the thing, you still want to make decent money, and everybody wants to like their job, right? But
Yeah.
sometimes the only person getting in your way is you. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Look at yourself. If you were presented with the opportunity to buy the store or the salon and you would have said, no, I don't think I can do it, that would have
Hmm.
been the end of that. Right. And like, look what you've
Exactly.
done.
Yeah. Yeah, or just, yeah, had a generally bad attitude, or, just
Hmm.
push back on everything. And, there's been some hard conversations that the former owner has had with the previous team, and some went good, some didn't, and all that stuff. But I remember always being like, yeah, whatever you got to do to make sure that this place stays open, I'm fine with, because I don't want to lose my job, right? But
Yeah.
had I left and moved on somewhere because I didn't like what was happening, then I wouldn't have owned it. And I get that not everybody wants to own. That's what I thought too, right? And but
Yeah.
not everybody has that too. Like you have to be, a certain type of person to want to take this on for sure. And yeah, I don't think that everybody has that ability for sure. But I didn't want to own it either, and now I do, and I don't regret it at all. So
Yeah,
sometimes you just have to be open to the opportunity and take them as they come, because you never know what 1 year, 2 years, 5 years is going to look like. So
for sure. Is there anything you wish you had known?
yeah, definitely. Like going into it, I think I was a little naive for sure. Just regarding like what people would say to you, and how, and not everybody's on your side at the end of the day, like even if it appears that way. So I wish I just would have not tried to give so much to some people just because I thought, oh, like I am so desperate to keep them on.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I wish I just would have like realized that I want to keep my team, obviously, but some people you just can't keep on your team. It's just too toxic and it drains you, and it's only going to be bad in the long run. So yeah, if you ever have people like this on your team, just get rid of them. It's my
You know
biggest
what,
piece of advice for sure.
Nikki, I didn't learn that until many years in. I call
Yeah,
it breaking up with people. And it also
yeah,
goes for clients. It's okay to break up
yeah.
with clients.
Totally. Oh my
Okay.
gosh. Yes.
Yep.
That is a huge thing too, is that yes, one thing that I've learned as well is not everybody's your client. Like you don't
Yes.
need to do the hair of every single person in the city. That is not even possible, right? There are some people who do not get your business. They don't get the way that you operate. They don't respect your policies. And that's actually like a huge rule that I have too, is I I believe in customer service to the 10th degree, but if you don't respect my team and the policies that we've set in place because of certain things that have happened, then I can't have you in the salon. Like that's just just because you're a customer, like
Yeah,
seeking out services doesn't give you the right to come here. Like it's a two-way thing, right? So that's a huge thing that I've done. We don't fire a lot of clients. It's maybe 1 to 2 a year. But yeah, if you don't respect our policies, like you don't agree with them, that's totally fine, but it's just not going to be the salon for you. But a business has to have policies in place for a reason. And yeah, and that just supports the salon. It supports the staff members. It makes people feel like they have, like a clear path of what's going to happen. And yeah, so that's a huge thing too.
it
Not
is.
everybody's your client. Yeah.
Not everybody's your client. It doesn't matter what your business is. You are not the place for everyone, and don't try to be. This is a
Right.
great way to end here, because you cannot ever be everything to everyone. So find your
Yeah,
niche,
that's so true.
stick to it, right?
Yeah. And people, clothing, some people don't see the value in expensive clothing or
Yep.
quality clothing. Not everybody sees the value in just hair, even just a $30 haircut. They don't care what it looks like, right? So they're not going to like the $100 haircut. They're certainly not going to like the price of it. And
Yep.
they're not going to notice the difference between the $100 and the $30 one. So they're definitely not our client for sure. And yeah, there's just different levels of, what a customer pays in every industry, cars, houses, all that stuff. So you just have to find what that client likes, and it's could not be yours, and that's totally fine. You can't be like heartbroken or feel like you failed or you have terrible customer service every time, there's an upset customer, or you have to like let somebody go. It's just how it is. So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That old
Yeah.
saying, the customer is always right,
wrong.
is wrong. That's what I always used to
Yeah.
say. No, the customer is always right until they're not right. Right?
Exactly,
So if they're
100%,
wrong,
yeah.
they're wrong. Yeah, it
Yeah.
does happen.
And like our policy at the salon is, over 95% of complaints or issues get fixed. Like we'll deal
Yeah.
with it. Absolutely. We take that on. And then there's a very small amount where, like I said, you're just not our client. You're never going to get it. You never were going to respect anything. No matter what we do, it's not going to be good enough. And then you just have to let go of them. And yeah, obviously those are going to be ones that write reviews and, have, create the biggest uproar. But then you have to remember all the thousands of other ones who love your business, and you would literally do anything for to keep them. And yeah, you got to find your good clients and do anything to keep those ones for sure.
Yeah, the old 80-20 rule, right? 20% of your people are going to bring you 80% of your revenue. So find those 20 and treat them well.
Yeah. And how it's so much more expensive to find a new client as it is to keep your existing ones. So, obviously we do want new clients, but if you're just not the right fit, then I as a business owner, like there's stress I'm willing to take on, but I cannot deal with the stress of a continually like upset client who's just always causing problems, like just not respecting policies. Like, I can't deal with it. It's just, I don't even want to. So,
well, you don't have to. That's the glory of owning your own business. You say goodbye to them, and that's that.
Yeah. Then that's the nice thing too, is you get to set your own policies and make the final decision. And yeah, that's kind of nice too. So
yeah, for sure. Nikki, thank you so much. This time has just flown by.
It literally did. It's already been 50 minutes.
I know. I don't even understand how this happens. But I know people are going to want to know more about you and more about Capelli. So where is the best place for them to find you?
Definitely Instagram. My tag, what do you call it? A handle?
Yeah.
It's at Nikki at Capelli. That's where you can find all of our team members, their name at Capelli. It's kind of the thing that we've taken on. So yeah, you can find me there. Reach out if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I love your transition, and I have been there from the start. I feel like seeing you. So I'm very proud. Congratulations on all of your success.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me on. It was so much fun.
It was. Thank you so much. And to everybody listening, we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to Winning. Be sure to subscribe to get all of our new episodes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on social media and leave a rating and review wherever you listen to Winning. To catch all of the latest from us, you can follow Winning Podcast on Instagram at winning_podcast, Facebook at Winning Podcast, and on Twitter at Winning Pod. Winning was created and is produced by me, Mackenzie Kilshaw. Music created by Summer Furby. Editing by Seth Armstrong. Special thanks to Shauna Foster for voicing our opening. And of course, a huge thank you to this episode's guest. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.